Okay, on the agenda today for our Training Tuesday, first we're going to talk about a CPO Notice 2020.07 that went out on Friday afternoon that really just extended the governor's emergency proclamation. The previous proclamation lasted for 30 days, and this new CPO Notice really just mirrors the governor's proclamation. Next, we got a job aid alert, a brand new IFB version 20.5 that was published on April 9th. A reminder for link to the new RFP process training video is posted in the training center. I'm going to add a new little a new function within our each of our training Tuesdays, another spot where we're going to focus on one particular thing each week. You know how we have the job aid alerts and then we have the bid buy activities. I thought it might be beneficial to do a weekly resource highlight, which really would, I'll just go out to where, we have tons of procurement resources, templates, guidance, those sorts of things. I thought it'd be really important for us to go out and show you where those are, and maybe just do a quick overview of some documents. So that's going to be something that we'll add new each week, is that weekly resource highlight. Today we're going to talk about the Unified Procurement Program, their newsletter that's out there. And then for our bid buy activity, I call it the Snapshot report. That's just my term. That's not anything specific in bid buy, so that's why I kind of put it in quotes. But really, it's a quick way for you to get some of the information that you would by running a full report without having to go in and actually do a report. We're just going to export directly to Excel, and we'll run through that as part of our activity. And then, of course, our fun fact of the day. So first off, the CPO notice. So CPO Notice 2020.07, extension of exempt procurements under the disaster proclamation. We have a link here, and let's walk through that. So the governor's previous disaster proclamation was for 30 days, and it's been extended. So this particular CPO notice really just mirrors that governor's proclamation and doesn't have a specific expiration date. It's written in a way that when the disaster proclamation by the governor has expired, and at this point, we don't really know, right? We're kind of in some uncertain times right now. So that original CPO notice was only for 30 days. So let's go out and take a look at it. So you have the link here, but also just as a reminder, we all want to show you where they live. It's in the CPO notice or CPO GS site. And if you go to Procurement Resources Library at the bottom, this is where you can find your solicitation contract templates and forms. We also have CPO notices. So CPO notices, and then they're listed by fiscal year. So CPO Notice 2020.07 is the one that came out on Friday afternoon. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just in essence, go out and take a look at it. And really what it is, it talks about just it's extending that proclamation in the previous CPO notice. So Governor Pritzker proclaimed that a disaster exists on March 9th. On April 1st, found that the COVID-19 outbreak causes a continuing disaster and declared that all counties in the state of Illinois remain a disaster area. So, those purchasing those exempt items, it doesn't need to have the SPO involvement. But now I will make a highlight though. If you're not sure and then you ask the SPO, if the SPO's opinion is sought and provided, then you need to go with that SPO's determination, okay? Now, if an agency is purchasing exempt items pursuant to the governor's disaster proclamation, you can either use, or both, use the requisition or purchase order documents in bid buy in order just to be able to manage and store that information. So we understand that agencies, you're used to using bid buy. You don't, since it's exempt, you don't particularly have to put it in bid buy, but if you would like to, we just ask that the following sentence be entered into the notes tab of the document created. Quote, this purchase is being made pursuant to the disaster proclamation. So that way you can still store that information in bid buy the way you normally would. We just asked to put that note in there so it's clear that this purchase was made pursuant to that disaster proclamation. And then the CPO notice is effective immediately, and as always, you can always reach out to your SPO or contact the Chief Procurement Office at that number. Okay. So any questions on that? It really just is extending those things, and if you have particular questions, reach out to your SPO. Looks like I have a question. Plus the type code as Z exempt. Plus the type code as Z exempt. Maybe I missed a previous question. When entering in bid buy, I'm sorry, I'm still missing the plus the type code as Z exempt when entering in bid buy. Oh, I assume you're saying, yeah, it would be the same way when you would do like your monthly exempt procurements. I'm sure that's what you're asking. Yes, you don't need to lump this into you know, your other procurements. You would just use the exempt type code the way you would when you do your monthly reports, right? So we have to, as part of the procurement code, even those procurements that are exempt still need to be posted to the bulletin, which is bid buy. So we didn't know this previously. Okay. Yeah, as a part of those, thank you for bringing that up. That's a great point. So if you are going to put those into bid buy, you would just do them the same as you would for those exempt reports. You would just mark the type code as exempt. Thank you. Any other questions on that? Okay, we'll go back to our slides. So job aid alert. So I posted a new IFB job aid alert, new job aid last week. There's only two changes to this version, and really it's in order to reflect the CPO Notice 2020-06, which is the electronic submissions only, right? Since we're all working from remotely. So really, rather than go through it all, I just went in and copied what is exactly what changed for the new job aid, as well as I sent this around to APOs and SPOs last week when it was published. So the first change is in the bulletin description. Would enter the information the way you normally would, and then I put in this language: pursuant to CPO Notice 2020-06, state agencies shall only accept electronic submissions for competitive solicitations. Paper responses will not be accepted. For more details, please see the attachment titled Notice of Electronic Submissions Only. And then in the attachments for your bid, there is that attachment Notice of Electronic Submissions Only. So if you don't have that yet, once again, you can go to the General Services page. You go to Procurement Resources Library. This will pop up, and you go to Solicitation and Contract Templates and Forms. It's where you normally would go to get blank Forms A, Forms B, all your templates. Okay, so if you scroll down, you see a big new icon there, and this is that attachment, Notice of Electronic Submission Only, version 20.2. Okay, so make sure you're going out there and utilizing that, because that's really what that is, and if you haven't seen it, you know what, might as well pull it up. This is just letting the vendor know some more additional information, why they're only accepting electronic submissions, as well as some notes regarding for RFPs where there's going to be two different bids for them to respond to. Okay, so that is going to be a part of that's new for the attachments. Now let me go back to this bulletin description. Now, as a part of this, we put this in here so that you could just copy and paste. However, that bulletin description does have a 500 character limit. So if you find that you're utilizing or you're going over that 500 character limit, there's nothing in this language that is, statutorily required. What this is so that the vendor can see as a part of that bulletin description some of those instructions. Now, if you want to work with your SPO to trim this down, for instance, if you are going to be going over your 500 character limit, work with your SPO on that. We just wanted to be able to provide a quick way for a vendor that they can immediately see on the bulletin description without having to go to other attachments that they're not going to be able to submit via paper. I think a lot of vendors know that, but when we're doing IFBs now, for instance, for certain goods and services, maybe vendors haven't responded in the last month, right? So, or they're new to doing business with the state to begin with, and they just need a little bit more of that guidance. So, work with your SPO. If we get feedback that this is just too big in general, we can look at other options and maybe pare that down. Like I said, it really was just a quick way that a vendor can see that they're only going to be able to submit electronically. Okay, training video for the new RFP process. We went over this last week and perhaps the week before, but I just wanted to, as it's kind of one of those things where you don't necessarily look into it or until you actually have to do a new RFP. So there is a video out there. Here's a link, and I'm not going to go through all of it today. It's just a reminder that that's there, and it's on our training center. So it's where you would go to see these training Tuesdays. On the general services page, we have that training center. You click on the training center there. Normally, where you would go to training Tuesdays, you just have the bid by version 15 training videos. So click on that, and then you see the general navigation as well as the new RFP process allowing electronic responses. And it's just a YouTube link. So if you have issues with YouTube, contact me. And because I know some agencies aren't able to access YouTube, and we will make sure that we get you, the raw video. We just can't hold all of that storage for all those videos on this page. And then a training video for vendors is going to be made available real soon. We're going to put a link to that video will be added to the vendor instructions. So for those of you that have looked at this process, there's two different bids that are going out. One's going to be just for technical proposals. One is just for pricing. And there's vendor instructions that are a part of those attachments. What we're going to do is we're going to put a link to the video for each one of them so a vendor can go in and watch how I do a technical proposal as well as put in my pricing. So that'll be forthcoming. I'll be working on that this week. So we get to our weekly resource highlights. So this is that new section or new segment that we'll do each week where we'll go out and we'll utilize and show you where some of our resources are. So this week is going to be the update newsletter. They're going to be putting this out quarterly. Here's a link directly to it if you want to do that. It contains a list of all the joint purchase master contracts, recent renewals, and expiring contracts. So let's go out and show you where that is. So you have the link. Of course, you can always use that if you're using those slides. But if I go back to this CPOGS website, scroll down to the bottom, you have a unified procurement program link. There's tons of information on the UP program, but the update newsletter is right here. Click on that. I highly suggest if you haven't read through this newsletter, please do. It gives a great overview of what cooperative purchasing is, what the UP program is. And I think this is something that is going to be really important for state governments, particularly Illinois, now that the procurement code has changed, allowing us to utilize joint purchasing more. This is something that I think is going to really be the future of purchasing in Illinois. So it's a good idea to go and read over that. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is the list I want to show you. Here are recent joint purchase master contracts that are available with that contract number. If I keep scrolling, here are recent renewals. So that's a question that always comes up. I know, an agency will say, well, I looked up, I see that there's this contract is going to be expiring soon. Is there a renewal? And did they actually do that renewal? So here's a list of the renewals that they started, as well as the expiring joint purchase master contract. So you can see the expiration date, and then does it have a renewal option, yes or no? It's a good way to get that whole picture of all the master contracts. And then cooperative solicitation postings. These are where we are a part of the state of Illinois is participating as a part of a solicitation posting. So each one of these could potentially become a contract that you guys could use in the future. And then you have the UP homepage as well as the link to the job aids for all the UP processes. And most likely next week we'll be walking through those. That's something that is going to be my homework for this week, is really going through those UP job aids and getting those out there. And the UP team has been working incredibly hard to get those up and running for you. Okay. All right, so our fun fact, April 14th is National Gardening Day. So get out there and get your fingers and get your hands dirty. Here's a hot gardening tip. When weeding, the best way to make sure you're removing a weed and not a valuable plant is to pull on it. If it comes out of the ground easily, it was a valuable plant. Sorry, bad joke. And don't take that tip, by the way. Okay, so now I'm going to go in. First of all, before we do our activity, do we have any questions on any of that material that was covered? If not, I'll jump in and just do our quick little activity, which will be the snapshot report. Like I said, that's not BidBuy's term. I just call it that, and you'll see why shortly. So I'm in BidBuy. Right, the home screen looks very familiar to you. If I go to advanced search, then I'm going to search for, let's say, all the bids that are on the street in my department, for instance. So this is perfect for department heads, APOs, SPOs, just to kind of get a snapshot in any one time what's on the street, for instance. Or if I'm looking for any of those particular parameters that you wanted to use to find something. So for this instance, I'm going to look at, okay, wait, what are the bids that we have in progress? So what are some action items we need to take? So I can select status. Let's say we're going to look for all the ones that are in progress for a particular department. You can just pick a department. And then when I search, I don't see any there. Let me do something different. Let's go bids. Let's go sent. So all bids that have been sent. Okay, so now I have a big long list of all of those sent bids. If you look over in the right-hand corner, I can export to CSV, I can export to Excel, I can export to PDF. Most likely what I see being used is that export to Excel. And then it just puts it into a format where I can manipulate the information the way I want to. So if I want to sort it by dates or do any of those sorts of things, now I have an Excel spreadsheet that I can go in and manipulate the information. Okay, pretty cool function. I think it is pretty nice. Like I said, you can get a lot of that information also by doing a report. And of course, that business intelligence reporting functionality is very robust, and you can report on any field that you complete within BidBuy. So that's really where that reporting comes in. When you build a report, you can go in and say, okay, well, I want all the PO information, SAP vendor numbers, SAP value, contract values, um, all the small business. So it'll go in and grab every one of those particular fields. But in this instance, this is something that it's more, that's why I call it the snapshot report, because you're not really running a report, but at the same time, you can find a particular thing and a kind of a quick overview of your document. So once again, I went to advanced search. I'm just finding that whatever I'm going to be looking for. So if I'm looking for a particular department or if I'm looking for a particular location, you could look through that. You could go in and find particular things there. And a particular status, you could do that as well. You could even do by type code. I want to look at, okay, what are all our small purchases that are on the street right now? What all our IFBs? You can go in there. You can go by buyer. You can really use any of that advanced search function. And opening dates. That's another thing too. If you want to go, okay, what do we have this month? Opening dates between here and April 30th. You can go in and search for that, and then export if you needed to Excel. So I think that's a valuable tip. And any questions on that? Okay, here's a question. You had clicked Excel spreadsheet. Did it open in another window? Yeah, so it would have just downloaded. So it went into my downloads. It didn't automatically pop up. So here it is. If I pull it back, there it is. So now it just pulls over everything that I would have done, right? All those fields that were in that last screen. So it was all the department, the purchaser, the total, what it is, the bid opening date, and then there is all of the information. And at that point, you can bid and sort and do, or sort and do everything that you need to normally do. See, we have another question. Is there report training? Yes, we can do a reporting training. It's going to be a little bit more. It's going to entail a little bit more, and we can definitely do that though. I'll work with our procurement systems manager and see if we can get some training on reporting as well. So I was playing around with that feature before, but I never got a report. Yep. So yeah, it doesn't automatically And that's a great point. So thanks for bringing that up. It doesn't automatically bring it up into Excel. All it did is it went to it download. So if I go to I'm using a Mac here at home, which has its own struggles since I'm so used to working on a PC. But all it did is here is in my downloads, it immediately goes straight to it. Okay. All righty. So I think that's all we have without seeing any other questions. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Go out there and get in that garden, or at least make your kids go pull some weeds.